Hello, my name is Jackson Strausser, and this is my biographical presentation on Dr. Manuel Blum. So, Blum was born in Caracas, Venezuela in 1938. Following this, his parents ended up moving to Venezuela, trying to escape Europe in the 1930s. And the reason for this was because the Blum family was Jewish, and they were trying to escape the fascist regime of Hitler. In a later interview with Blum, he stated that as a young kid, he remembers questioning the brain and how it works, and knowing that he was intelligent, he wanted to pursue this further. So next are his collegiate aspirations. So Dr. Blum moved to the U.S. in the mid-1950s, and this was to study at the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, where he studied electrical engineering. And he studied electrical engineering at MIT in specific because he believed that electrical circuits held the answers to the world's questions, and that he could do more complex things if he understood how the circuits worked. And continuing his intelligent thoughts as a little kid, these electrical circuits he also thought would help him understand the brain works and how it works faster. And he ended up being right, because the brain is very similar to an electrical circuit in the way that neurons fire back and forth and process information. In that sense, it's very similar to a computer and how the circuits work and communicate information. While he was at MIT, he worked in neuropsychology in the laboratory of Warren S. McCulloch and Walter Pitts. And he earned his PhD in mathematics in 1964. Among his other achievements, he earned his BS in electrical engineering, his MS in electrical engineering, his PhD in mathematics in 1964, and he married his wife, Lenore Blum. Now, his wife was also a computer scientist, and she was also very intelligent. She was also a mathematician, and she has individually made contributions to the theories of real number computation, cryptography, and pseudo-random number generation. And this was in league with Manuel Blum when he was working through all of these different theories and such with his own studies. So, adult life and work experience. So, Manuel's first job after college was an assistant mathematics professor, and in 1968 he moved across the country to UC Berkeley in California, where he became a tenured associate professor of electrical engineering, which was his basis, and computer science. From 1977 to 1980, he was the associate chair for computer science, and in 1995, he was named the Arthur J. Chick Professor of Computer Science at Berkeley. Following that, he picked up a teaching job at Carnegie Mellon in 2001. His research has been published 4 different occasions during this collegiate teaching. His second of which is a machine-independent theory of complexity of recursive function. And essentially what this does is it says that any known function that can be done and operated by a computer, typically they will have longer strings of code, but this theory was that he could run a smaller line of code to run the bigger line of code, and so on and so forth, so that the smallest piece of code could run an infinitesimal amount of data. And so he worked at Carnegie Mellon from 2001 till 2018, upon which he resigned from Carnegie with his wife in 2018 to protest sexism that was going on in the country, as well as at the university. So now let's talk about Dr. Manuel Blum's most notable research. So in 1967, he completed his machine-independent theory of complexity of recursive functions. So, as stated before, this is the one that says that he can condense what is being done from a lot of code into shorter and shorter and shorter. He also, in 1972, he had linear time bounds for median computations. In 1984, he figured out how to generate cryptographically strong sequences of pseudo-random bits, and we'll get more into that later. 1985, he had an efficient probabilistic public key encryption scheme which hides all partial information. 1995, he designed programs that check their own work, and that also kind of ties back into his machine-independent theory. And then probably one of Manuel Blum's most popular inventions was CAPTCHA. And what CAPTCHA is it's a human identification source to verify that the entity that is using a computer program or website is in fact human and not some sort of bot that was created from other computer code. And presently he's working on the Humanoid project. And essentially, the Humanoid project is like a CAPTCHA 2.0 where it's a human verification system. And the reason why he's working on the Humanoid project is because there are more automated intelligence and more intelligent bots that people have found to work around his CAPTCHA system. So next we're going to go through 3 different pieces of his most notable research. So the first one is his machine-independent theory of complexity of recursive functions. And there are 2 very important parts about this. So first, complexity. So to do so, one must first pick a specific machine model on which algorithms run, and then a resource to account for in each computation. And the resource is any function that has 2 basic properties, and these are Blum axioms. And we're going to get into that in a second.